Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Josh Johnson. I'm a local architect and volunteer for the AIA Wisconsin. That's one of our sponsors for this evening, along with Wisconoma. And then the what I wanted to say real quickly, I'm going to talk very quickly here, is in about 1991, I met two brilliant teachers. They were elementary school teachers, and they had done such a great job. They had turned their students into rabid preservationists. And they had realized, which is, of course, absolutely fabulous and very important, but they had realized these kids had vilified architects in their heads. So they said, you guys need to come in to our classroom. And my office supported me. And so for the next 7 years, I would go teach these fourth graders from these brilliant teachers. And it totally got me into design education. So I moved up here 25 years ago and kind of quickly met Heather Sabin and, of course, the Monona Terrace. And through their work here at Terrace Town, which I kind of jumped in and started doing the same thing. We were using some of the same materials, so we could speak kind of the same language. And of course, the students were just as cool as ever. They always knocked the thing out of the park. And the other thing in design education is when you're a volunteer and go to a classroom, the teachers that support design education are the very best teachers there are. They're the most creative. They're the ones who have the big picture. So it's a joy to be a partner in that classroom with a brilliant teacher. The kids are always brilliant. The kids always surprise you how great they are. And this is Terrace Town. Now, this Terrace Town is going to be on March 14th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Saturday will be the public day. Now, the kids do all this work, and it'll be down. They put that in down on Friday. They're working on this in the classrooms right now. I'm working with a class out in Middleton, West Middleton, and terrific teachers. And they come and bring this in. And then on Saturday, we have a public day where everybody can come down, and that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You know, the folks who do architects in schools, which is part of my group, will be down. We'll have some options, some things for the kids, any kids that are visiting to do. Monona Terrace and Heather does a great job of doing the same kind of thing. So the kids, any visitors, have a great time. It's terrific, and you can see how cool each one of these classes and each one of these schools does. And then that's us out causing a ruckus and a problem outside. And I can't see you, Heather, unless you're trying to tell me something. And so this is in the classroom. And every year I kind of do something a little different. That year we were among other things we were building arches, and I think these kids are all 30 now. But anyway, this has been more recent. I'm going to be working with some students in West Middleton on Friday with this kind of little thing right here where we do planning and we start with a single house, and then by the time we're done, we've got skyscrapers going up in the classroom everywhere, and it's really cool. And that's all Terrace Town. And we do it every 2 years, and it really is absolutely key to the success of a lot of students' education because, of course, it's not just about design, but design education is the creative, as a creative endeavor. It's the first time you've told a third grader, for instance, that their answer can be right. They're just going to explain why their answer is right, and you see a group of students just come alive at that because it's not about testing, it's about creativity. And these students take this through the rest of their lives. I mean, we meet these folks all the time. They're the folks who come to these things. The people who understand creativity is how you live life. So it's, and then when you get really lucky, you get a drawing of yourself. Now, check about how cool this girl is. She knew that she needed to take off about 40 pounds, and she did it. So our first speaker tonight, so we're going to have three different speakers tonight who are going to talk about three different programs, all involving design education in schools. And Carolina Hamblen is somebody I'm going to embarrass by saying that she and her husband, Floyd Hamblen, are the heart and soul of Taliesin. They're the reason why people one of the reasons why people still love to come to Taliesin here better than any Frank Lloyd Wright site on the planet, because it is absolutely, it's the love that the folks have for it there. And they are the folks, and Carolina is a leader there who, what's her, she's actually director of programs at Taliesin Preservation. And she holds a master's degree in K-8 education and music from the University of Arts in Berlin. Carolina and her husband, architect Floyd Hamblen, joined Taliesin in the 80s as apprentices and became members of the Taliesin Fellowship in 2001. They continue to live at Taliesin, where they raised their family with this community and 5 sons. And if someone out there is really bright, they could do a documentary where they follow Carolina around and follow Floyd around, and it would be the absolute perfect way to have Taliesin kind of unveil itself, because they've experienced it better than any two humans on the planet. I mean, they've experienced it longer, practically, than anybody else, other than Wright himself. And so I would love to see that documentary, Carolina. That would be fabulous. And I can't say enough good things about her. She's got the intelligence, the heart, the passion that's just perfectly balanced. And she's the key for the success out there in a lot of ways, a whole lot of ways. And it is the best right site venue to go to on the planet. I'll just go ahead and say that. So Carolina served for 3 years as board member of the Frank Lloyd Wright designed Wyoming Valley School. I'm going to speak quickly here. She was also the founding member of the River Valley Elementary Studio School, an arts integrated charter school in Spring Green, where she served on the governing council for more than 5 years. As director of programs and with the support of dedicated, talented team, Carolina works to fill Frank Lloyd Wright's estate with a life within that she's experienced through more than 30 years of engagement with the Taliesin Fellowship community. She is deeply grateful for the opportunity to have known many of the original fellowship members, and is passionate to advance this legacy today by bringing it to a broad audience. And she sure does. She sure is passionate, and she does a great job. So, Carolina, you can start this evening's program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. And let's skip the documentary and see how this evening goes. So it's lovely to have you all here on this beautiful day. Thank you, Monona Terrace, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be here with this fantastic panel tonight. I am here to tell you a little bit about youth education at Taliesin, and I would like to do this by bringing in the legacy and the history of education in that valley and education around Wright into the mix, because that truly informs how we engage with youth today and how we bring Taliesin and Wright's architecture to younger audiences. I can see in the audience that most all of you are well familiar with Taliesin. It's the 800-acre property, excuse me, the home, Taliesin, a farm, Midway Barn, a studio and a school, Hillside School, you can see it, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. In 2019, Taliesin was designated as World Heritage Site, and it was the first modern architecture designation to the UNESCO World Heritage Site. This valley in the Driftless region, where Taliesin is located, was an essential place for Wright to learn and to become an architect. And today, Taliesin is an essential place for us to learn about Wright, his life, his ideas, his work. The land now occupied by Taliesin is located on unceded ancestral homelands of the Ho-Chunk and other nations of Wisconsin. The area served as a center for the first people to gather, trade, and maintain kinship ties. We are committed to tell their story and to support the strengthening of Indigenous sovereignty. And today we are in a wonderful partnership with the Little Eagle Arts Foundation. Many of you may be familiar with it. And we're co-hosting an event each summer in August, celebrating Indigenous art, culture, music, dance. We hope to see you there. Okay, hang on. Taliesin Preservation's mission is simple and twofold: to preserve the cultural, built, and natural environment of the estate, and to conduct public programming around Wright's architecture and his ideas. Every year, we greet about 30,000 visitors. Our guests can take a tour, a self-paced audio tour, or take part in our weekend overnight workshops. We have a lovely cafe, the Monona Terrace Cafe, and a gift shop featuring Wright products, but also products of local artists. When we engage with youth at Taliesin and explore Wright's principles of organic architecture, we use Taliesin itself as textbook. Students read the land and feel the architecture. They find inspiration to write, to contemplate, ask big questions, build models, forage with Taliesin staff, sketch, reflect, enjoy one another's company, and talk about what they're seeing and experiencing. And then they connect it back to their own lives. At Taliesin, we do not have an educational outreach department per se, and youth engagement is embedded into our overall programming. We host field trips on a regular basis, making this World Heritage Site accessible to students. But mainly, we work best in partnership with other educational organizations across disciplines to create day-long and multi-day, week-long experiences. The Valley is an essential place for Wright. Taliesin, to me, truly is the hub or the epicenter or whatever you may want to call it of Wright's ideas. Nearly every major architectural building type is represented at Taliesin. A chapel, a school, a windmill, an affordable home, a large home, a tiny cottage, a hydroelectric dam, a farm, a 100-seat theater, and a large design studio. It was Wright's maternal Lloyd Jones family who repeatedly called him back to the Valley, commissioned designs that fostered his own early architecture education. At age 19, he was assigned as project manager for the family's chapel construction. At age 20, he designs a large school building for his aunts in the Valley, which he substantially expands later on. When he is nearly 30, he designs a windmill for his aunts to pump running water to the school. As he turns 40, his sister Jane reaches out, requesting a design for a home for her and her husband. Now, mind you, at that time, Wright is an established architect in Oak Park. He has affluent clients coming to him, building large, beautiful homes. Jane is a different story. She is a teacher at the Hillside Homeschool. Her husband is a caretaker of the grounds and buildings, and she charges her brother. She wants a less radical design of her brother. So the challenge is on, and they end up choosing a design that Wright published in the Ladies' Home Journal that same year as a fireproof home for $5,000. Here you can see the beautiful hillside buildings that Wright designed early in his career. Wright's aunts had established this extraordinary hillside homeschool at the turn of the centuries. These buildings are from 1902, 1903. It followed a child-centered, progressive, interdisciplinary, co-educational curriculum. The aunts founded it originally for their siblings' children, Wright's cousins in the Valley. But very soon, the reputation of the school grew far beyond the Valley. Bob LaFollette's children, for instance, went to school here. The aunts had opened their doors to this exceptional school in this remote rural valley an entire decade before John Dewey opened his doors to the famous lab school in Chicago. It was here in the valley where Wright saw firsthand how student-centered learning from and with the land, learning through experimentation and apprenticeship manifested in these young students. It was an experience he later implemented in his own architecture education program, the Taliesin Fellowship. When Wright is now in his mid-40s, he's kind of in a mess. He flees Chicago amid a personal scandal and seeks refuge in the Valley again, where he begins building Taliesin, a project he would continue for the rest of his life. It was his home, yes, but most importantly, it functioned as a laboratory of design and innovation for Wright and later for his students. To give you an example of what I mean, nearly exactly a century ago, on February 12th, 1926, the Hobbs Water Wheel Company billed Wright for a shipment of hydroelectric plant and several parts. At a time when rural electrification was still years away, Wright had already built a hydroelectric system at Taliesin to power his home. It made the home self-sustaining and may have spared some of the daily annoyance with the kerosene lamps. During the Depression years and World War II, life at Taliesin shifts. His aunts retired long ago and closed the hillside homeschool, leaving the large complex that Wright had designed to fall into disrepair. In response, Wright acquires the school complex from his family and founds the Taliesin Fellowship. Now, mind you, he is in his 60s. He is 65 years old. For most people, that is perfect retirement age, but not for him. For him, it is the ideal time to create an apprenticeship program for aspiring architects and designers. He is motivated by his belief, and I quote, that young America is overeducated and undercultured. We all know him as a loud critic of formal academic institutions, which he called knowledge factories. Wright models the Taliesin Fellowship on principles of apprenticeship, mentorship, community, hard work, and hands-on experimentation. One of the first assignments for these students that just joined the newly established fellowship in 1932 was to build the 5,000 square foot drafting studio, their own classroom, if you wish. That alone is an immense lesson in architecture, in sourcing local materials, in engineering, and design itself. The Taliesin Fellowship was more than a school. It offered an immersive way of life. Let's go back a little bit further, and I promise I'll bring it back to today. It is safe to say that formal education and Frank Lloyd Wright did not look eye to eye. There's no evidence that Wright ever graduated from high school, and he left the University of Madison as a civil engineering student before finishing his degree. Wright was born after the Civil War in a small rural community in southwest Wisconsin, populated by farmers, lumbermen, and merchants. There was really nothing extraordinary about his childhood. He was not particularly recognized as gifted or talented child. His early childhood was marked by constant financial uncertainty, frequent moves as his father searches for better employment, and his parents' unhappy marriage ended in divorce during his teenage years. It was really his mother, Anna Lloyd Jones, a teacher herself, who took on Wright's early childhood education and introduced him to the verbal gifts when he was just 9 years old. The verbal gifts were a set of educational tools that left a deep impression on Wright. They are designed to teach the underlying order of nature and concepts such as shape, size, color, or spatial relationship. A grid system serves in this verbal method as a foundational structure of all activities. And interestingly, most all of Wright's architectural designs later in his life followed a grid system to create a sense of harmony and unity within his designs. The verbal method was a child-centered form of education and took a holistic approach to teaching and learning, including learning in the field and with all senses. These early childhood experiences Wright later credited as formative in his own development. Now, midway between his home Taliesin on the estate and the hillside school, you find Midway Barns. Midway Barn was built in the 30s and the 40s to support the Taliesin Fellowship community during the Depression years. World War II was raging in Europe and architecture commissions were down. Yet his recently established Taliesin Fellowship needed a way to support itself. As a young teenager, Wright had visited his maternal grandparents and the many homesteads of his uncles in this valley during the summer month. This family's motto was truth against the world, a motto that may have caused his uncle's ongoing experimentation with innovative farming practices. Wright's son on the farms gave him an appreciation for the land, hard work, seeking new methods to improve, the cycles and the beauty of nature, and a deep respect for the farming profession. Again, Midway Barn becomes a real-world testing ground for Wright's ideas around self-sufficiency and sustainable communal living. Together, Wright's childhood experiences on the family farms and his lifelong belief in the organic relationship between the land and the people who depend on it. Our curriculum is literally set in stone. Taliesin is the textbook, the third year. In the physical environment being a crucial, often overlooked element in education alongside the teachers and the curriculum. When students visit, Taliesin becomes a path of discovery with endless lessons around them, sometimes in full sight, sometimes hidden.
Lessons about how buildings affect
well-being.
Lessons about how the build and the natural environment
must go hand in hand.
Lessons about how architecture
answers to technology changes makes innovation.
Or how architecture must improve lives and address societal changes. All these lessons are crystallized in the building
and the at Taliesin.
Across the entire property, we encounter attempts to live sustainable. We see examples of campus solar. We see innovative use of local materials, or how buildings, land, and people adapt to change. We find examples of recycling
and reusing materials, floor plans, and maximized space use. Now, I want to give you 3 examples of the work that we do.
That summer, we brought 12 high school students from Marwin, accompanied by 3 faculty members to Taliesin
for a weekend immersive experience.
Marwin is an after-school program in the city of Chicago,
serving students
surrounding neighborhoods with a great variety of
programs, free access to art studios.
This partnership
was fully funded by a single donor. Marvin stayed
room and made house
home for $5,000 for the week. They used the studio for classroom, the room, a space to share meals with other Taliesin staff members and residents. Had never been outside of the city of Chicago. The students to create,
sketch, they explored the land, engaged in architecture,
and form of community.
Another ongoing partnership we have right now is with CESA's Gifted and Talented
The program.
Currently, we are working with 15 high school students from a rural district, a high percentage of economically disadvantaged students. Again, this partnership is
through the grant by the DPI.
The year-long project
includes multiple project days at Taliesin. Finds a small home for a fictional client, but an actual building site in the subdivision of Spring Green. To support the subdivision, visited the sites, saw a local net zero home. Projects at Taliesin take place in many different historic spaces. Each student is creating a site plan to an 1/8 scale, a floor plan and a 3D model to a 1/4 scale, and then in the end, students present their final designs to the public in a culminating event in May. Another partnership is our ongoing partnership with the Wisconsin Math Council. We're currently partnering with 8th grade students from Sun Prairie and the Wisconsin Math Council to create a math trail. A math trail is a public discovery walk connecting students, families, and lifelong learners of all ages with public spaces to engage them with real-world math. This partnership, again, is fully funded through the EVU Foundation. Visiting middle school a pre-designed math trail, and we asked them to add their own math prompts. Here's one of them. Imagine you are drafting late one night and are in a desperate cup of tea. If you heat water in this right design spherical kettle, how many mugs of tea could you make for you and your friends? And another prompt was, Frank Lloyd Wright used compression and release to create movement in his designs. The measurements he used for this was his own height. Based on this theater foyer, how tall do you think Frank Lloyd Wright was? This partnership will expand into the summer, and we hope to finalize a trail that can be shared with the general public. And lastly, we partner regularly with rural schools and are partners of the Rural Schools Collaborative. This collaborative is a regional network that connects teachers and students with local rural serving organizations to work together. In addition to regular field trips, we continuously seek out grant funding to allow students from our immediate surrounding rural communities to engage with us at Taliesin, a World Heritage Site in their very own backyard, designed by a Wisconsin kid from their very own backyard. All of this to say that throughout the evolution of this colorful woven tapestry of Wright's own experiences taking place in this Taliesin Valley, he came to believe that architecture could and must improve people's lives. Wright dedicated his entire practice to designing buildings, cities, landscapes that responded to the cultural shifts and redefining American life. And yet we are still grappling with so many of these issues related to housing, livable cities, sustainability, and social inequity in our time and place. At Taliesin, we are always eager to meet educators and educational institutions invested in working with youth, addressing these big issues, and who see Taliesin as a possible partner for their work. Architecture must now construct anew the whole social pattern of our time as a new order of the human spirit. Frank Lloyd Wright. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolina. That it's one of the coolest places on the planet out there. So the Marwin students were here, and I like the first night I was like, talked to somebody. It's like, okay, what was the report? And they're like, they had no idea there were that many stars. Second night was worst thunderstorm we had of the spring. I was like, oh, good Lord. And it's like, how did that go? I said, they loved it. It was just great. So a lot of my friends don't really realize why they're my friends, and it's because I just kind of put myself, in their world. Mike Sykes is one of these people. Mike Sykes is one of these people that I met, and within 30 seconds, I'm like, he's not getting rid of me. He's just going to be one of my friends forever. And he is here representing NOMA and a work that he's been doing for years with Project Pipeline. Rafiq Assad is here. He's also worked with NOMA. NOMA, National Organization of Minority Architects, and it's WISCO NOMA is the state organization. It is the best. It's a national organization, but our state is the best. I mean, they just gave them an award saying they were the best of all the states. So they do a 4-day program. I'm going to steal his thunder a little bit. They do a 4-day program, and it's in Madison and then in Milwaukee with students, and it's free for the students. It's in the summer. The students just work themselves silly on it. They do a killer job. They do great. We got real rock stars in this program that come back year after year. And it's just absolutely. And so here in Madison, we get to do it at the Black Business Hub, which Rafiq designed. So one of these rock star students is like, tell me about that green roof out there. Rafiq can take him outside and go, it's made of this, 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 and you want to worry about this, and you want to do it like this. And this kid is just taking it in. It's beautiful. Exactly how education should run. So without any further ado, Michael Sykes, I should read your thing. He brings a unique perspective shaped by personal resilience and a commitment to community empowerment. That is absolutely true, sir. Michael has actively contributed to initiatives of advocating for stringent safety standards in architecture and has served on the Dream Spaces Scholarship with the Wisconsin Architects Foundation, which provides full tuition. It's kind of the moonshot uh, uh, scholarship you can get for students to attend the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee School of Architecture and Urban Planning. Michael currently serves as parliamentarian and a project pipeline for Wisco-Noma, focusing on introducing underserved youth to career opportunities in architecture and design. It's one of the happiest things I get to do all year is work with these Wisco-Noma students and Michael twice a year. And I like to see him more often, so tonight's really nice. Michael's journey from adversity to leadership exemplifies his unwavering dedication to fostering diversity and inclusion within the architecture profession, and prepare yourself to fall in love with Michael Sykes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming out on this lovely February 60-degree night, right? And I'm actually really grateful to be here in the Monona Terrace at this time. This location has sparked some very interesting development in my life, in architecture and the design industry in general. And so I'm really grateful to be here tonight, and I can kind of go into that story in just a little bit here. But so I'm here to represent, in one instance, the National Organization of Minority Architects, NOMA. Wisconsin's chapter is Wisco-Noma. My name's Michael Sykes. I am just a little bit about me. I have a very, very non-traditional path to architecture, which it sounds like this has been going on for a long time. Frank Lloyd Wright, he had a path to architecture that was not the traditional path from the sense of whether he had a degree or not. You know, does that really matter? But how do you get there? For me, I got to architecture through a series of decisions that were kind of like throwing dice, right? I was in prison for a very long time, and this is one of the reasons why I do the work that I do. Uh, I grew up in an environment where I was selling drugs. This was the everyday thing to me. I committed crimes every day. That was my life. I woke up, everything around me was a crime, so to speak. Uh, Single mother household. And this was just the way I was supposed to live. Never had a professional man in my life that I'd ever seen. And so as I move forward and have entered into this industry through a friend of mine, that's an architect that has been one of my biggest mentors. His wife and him sat me down one day with the understanding that I was going to return to school. And I was returning to school from a landscaping background. I had a landscaping degree, and it was an associate degree. And I was just at the point where I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. Like, do I really want to do landscaping the rest of my life? It's nothing wrong with it, but this is it. I went into that industry while I was in prison. I started that as an industry and as a job, and I wasn't really sure, but I fought it out, and I got my associate's degree while I was in prison, and then I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do afterwards, and I had a friend that was a civil engineer, and then I had a friend that was an architect that I met in this path, and both of them were vying like, hey, you going back to school? You should go to school for engineering, or you should go to school for architecture. And my friend and his wife owned a small architecture firm. His name is Ian, and they sat me down and they just had a more convincing story at that point. But I never had a design background. I wasn't a Lego kid or any of those things. So it led me to the uh, the technical school in Green Bay, and that's a non-traditional path as well. So from there, I just have been on this trail and on this path where it's been nothing but mentorship and guidance and acceptance and backing and support from architects, even to the extent of putting me in a leadership role where I didn't know anything about architecture at all. And uh, in a leadership role, I don't know why. Maybe they just saw something that I wasn't seeing at the time. And they were leading me, they were walking with me from the side, and they were pushing me from behind. And they let me be this champion for speaking up for young people and helping carry on this mentorship and bringing more people into the industry. So that's the story about me that some people don't know when they interact with me and they see me in these different spaces. But this is the person who I am and how I reached this location. So the group that has also been a part of my development and has done a lot of work with helping me to kind of progress in my career is and to gain some confidence because just think about it, you come from a place where you don't have professionalism and you don't have belief in yourself and you hear it from all these different locations and all these different places from society, from the people you live around, from your own self, your internal thoughts that you don't belong in a particular space, or you never had the idea that it was a real option for you. And it was one of the groups here, National Organization of Minority Architects, group of Wisconoma architects. So I joined in the group of Wisconoma, and I wasn't even sure I was going to do it. I didn't know if I wanted to fight for them at this point because it was just me starting something new. And, I didn't know if I could trust people at this point, just this was where I was at. And so I started with Wisconoma, and Wisconoma is a sub organization of the broader national organization of minority architects. So the broader group of minority architects, basically, it's founded early, well, in the 70s. Group of architects joined each other and at the AIA conference. Maybe it was, I think it was like Cleveland or something like that. And they all met and they decided, hey, we need to do something to encourage the introduction and bring more people into this industry because as this subset of architects, we don't have a level playing field, so to speak, right? So they came up with an idea, and they came up with a few ideas in this process. So the first idea was, hey, let's start this organization of minority architects. So they start this group of minority architects, and it starts to generate a little bit more encouragement. It starts to get traction, and then they come up with some other ideas. And one of the reasons why they came up with the idea is basically it's grounded in some statistics, right? You have Whitney Young here, right? Whitney Young is known for his he walks into I think it was the AIA conference. I can't remember exactly what year it was. And actually they want him to come be a speaker. So he's supposed to come be a speaker. And when he gets there, it's like no black people there. He's like, okay, so this is not something that's should continue. So he speaks about it. And so during the time that Whitney Young was in architecture or having these types of discussions, it was a really, really low bar for the amount of architects that were racially diverse. And so 0.5%, you move on today, is still not very many architects. You know, it's like a 5% for African Americans and things of that nature. So it's still a very low bar, you know, and it's just you don't have a lot of a lot of diversity. So it's not, but it we progress as we do, you know. So in the what basically happens with the National Organization of Minority Architects is they start to generate chapters. So, and if a chapter is founded in a city, they also have some other things that they would like the chapters to kind of engage in to help drive interest and support for the members. And I'll explain that in just a minute. And it also goes into why the founders of the organization decided that they had some other drive more membership into the field of architecture. So this is a group of women in Wisconsin that work with the uh, Organization of Minority Architects, or they're actually members here. And so two of the members that are in this picture are the first two Black women architects in the state of Wisconsin. That was about 20 something, maybe 20 something years ago. That's not that long ago, you know. So when we're thinking about the timeline and becoming licensed and introduction of more groups into architecture, into professional fields like this in general, it starts to give you a little bit more clarity of what this actually looks like and why it's important to have groups like this. So, so basically what ends up happening is the national chapter, they want us to have other chapters who can then go out and bring in more architectural licensure for the community, and so that we can have a little bit more diversity. We can have a mixture of people who are in the industry that are licensed and that are professionals. So now you have our board of Wisco Noma members who come from various backgrounds. We have Taruna Gupta. Taruna Gupta is from Indian descent. Then we have Eric Hancock. Eric Hancock, he's Asian and white. Tessa Begay. Tessa Begay is indigenous. Rafiq Assad. Rafiq is African American. I'm African American. Marianne Clinton and Acosta, she's African American and from the islands. So we have all these different groups that are going out and they're doing all this different work in the community. And these are some of the people who have helped bring me into a, a place of ownership of my world and of my life, and giving me confidence, and not just giving me confidence, but allowed me to find confidence in myself. So they have been the people who have led me from behind or pushed me from behind, walked with me from the side, and led me from the front to teach me what it is to be a professional, to teach me how to be more open to things that I may not normally consider in my world, and to start understanding what design really looks like and what it means to be a creator and creative. Uh, it's a difference from the people that you work with and the people that I would guess you would say, uh, you do civic work with, social interaction. And those differences in people can change you in different ways. Uh, they have. So basically, a chapter is born, accomplishment. So what is the next thing? You go out and the National Organization of Minority Architects came up with an idea. Hey, how do we get more people into the industry? I think we start with K-12. We have to start young, bring younger people into the industry, start giving them an understanding of the design world, and then what we do is we give them a project to kind of help guide these young people. And this is what Project Pipeline is. Project Pipeline is a summer program that lasts just, it might be a week, it might be for a couple of days, depending on what your chapter does. Our chapter started in Milwaukee, and then we moved on into Madison. So we now have a camp in Madison. But the goal of our chapter and Project Pipeline in general is to empower young people, to connect mentors with young people, to designing for the community, and then addressing design justice. So what do all these different things mean, and what do they actually do for a young person? What they do for a young person is the same thing they did for me, right? Empowering young people. Maybe I'm not as young as these younger people, but it gives an introduction into the industry. You bring a young person into the industry, you give them exposure to the profession, to design, and then you carry them through with mentors. You connect them with some mentors that are going to give them the understanding and the exposure to the industry, and that they can see as role models where they didn't normally have those type of role models. I never knew what architecture was when I was younger. So the same thing is and can be true with a lot of the young people in this that come to the Project Pipeline here. So design for the community, addressing design justice. What is design justice? Making sure that I have clean water the same way that you do. When I come into a school, that may be the most beautiful place that I actually see, the cleanest place that I actually see. I need to be able to understand it as a young person so I can understand what it means to have to design something and the reason for designs. So you start the Project Pipeline Camp, you start with these basic initiatives and you start with these baselines, and then you go out and you generate a help and a buzz from the community that wants to come in and kind of support this initiative. That's what Project Pipeline does. So we started in Milwaukee in 2022 or so, 23, and we started with a group called True Skool, organization called True Skool. They were like been walking with us hand to hand. And Shalina, who's going to talk next, is going to kind of give a baseline of how that relationship worked and what it still looks like and what it's leading to. But this is just another example of the community reaching out and expanding the thought and the focus and the relationships with young people and making sure that they're grounded and they have the development and the guidance that they need to enter into fields that this particular field in design industry. So we started in Milwaukee, expanded to Madison the following year, and through that, we just kept developing these relationships with young people, giving them different areas and interest in the design industry, going from traditional architecture to virtual construction, giving them ideas about the actual, in addition to architecture, 3D scanning, landscape architecture, uh, all of the different areas that come along with architecture from, I mean, it's been countless, and it's just been really exciting to see these young people come in and start with one idea of what they think architecture is going to be, and then see it blossom to something else. Last summer, we went to a farm, and the young people were like, "What the heck does this have to do with architecture?" And the goal in that instance was, hey, you have to design something for a farm owner who needs something here on their property. They're serving a purpose. One of the farms was an organic farm, and they needed a new structure that they could use for various purposes. The programming needed to serve events. The programming for that barn also needed to serve a, a space for comfort for when the employees were hot. or when they were cold, they needed to come in and have shelter for a little bit of time. They needed to do, uh, they needed to have little, what do they call they're really big in Wisconsin and everywhere right now where you go and you just, it's a little bit colder outside and you have a place to come and get your vegetables and everything like that. So they wanted to do all these different things. And that's what this building needed to support. And the students needed to understand that it's not about big buildings all the time. It's not about residential all the time. You need to have the understanding of serving different varieties of people. And this is what Project Pipeline also gave us the ability to do. Uh, but now we're moving into another phase, which is expanding the relationships and expanding the programming that takes place in the touch points. So our next initiative is Future Builders. Future Builders Design Studio and Design Network is then taking that summer program and expanding it out to more months, more areas of the design industry. We've brought in more people to help with this network, to help guide these young people from K-12 into schools and then into the industry through partnerships with a huge amount of people who have been just helping us to get these kids in a place to now we have a young person in Milwaukee from one of our camps who's ready to go to college. He's ready to go to UWM. So this is what it looks like. So when we actually see him going and starting in our camp, and then walking across the stage or getting into school for the first day, we know that we've been making the impact that we're supposed to be making. So it takes a village to do all that. And see, these are some of the partners who have been involved with and engaged in helping us reach that height and reach these different places. Uh, and then some of the engagement that Future Builders is doing now is now we have had the opportunity to go and take these young people to a construction tour so they can see the other side of what happens when the design goes vertical. What does it look like? What happens on the other end of that? And that's what's been going on. So Future Builders is another organization that myself and Ross Younger have co-founded. And it's just getting off the ground, but it has a lot of legs and it has a lot of help behind it and a lot of support. So with that, the last design studio, actually it was our first site visit to anywhere. That was at the Milwaukee Museum here that has been like a really big buzz right now. So the new Milwaukee Museum that's going up, it was last week, Wednesday. Huge turnout and a huge excitement behind it. And that's just kind of what's been going on. I'm pretty sure y'all understand, y'all know who this guy is here. If y'all haven't, and but Josh has been huge in helping us with programming. And so my goal in all of this is, hey, I bring people together, and when you come to help with our engagement, I want to get as much of your skills that I can take and we can use with the programming and helping to progress somebody else and helping to progress the group that we have in general. Our internal group needs to grow as well. So if you don't bring in new people and new ideas, and you don't bring in people that you can learn from, then you don't grow. So we're all in this opportunity to have mentorship and guidance and learning opportunities from other people. So it continues as it goes, but the students have gone from all different phases here to uh, actual from designing to actually doing drywalling. So, but that's about it for me here. I really appreciate you guys for giving me a couple of minutes here to like talk your ears off and uh, as it goes. We have more and we need some help and we can definitely use your support. So I'll let Josh take this and get this on to Shalina. Thank you.
So in the Madison 4-day program we had this year, we were also really lucky to have like 8 students who were architecture students who came down from the Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay. And they brought them down. One of the staff members brought them down on Wednesday, stayed the week. They didn't leave till Sunday afternoon when we finished. So they were there teaching the students, all women. And I mean, thank God there's more women coming into architecture because we white men are tired, not doing that great, need help. And so all of these, they were teaching the students and doing a killer job all week. And so that was a benefit that we had that we didn't even, when I walked in, I didn't realize. And then when you volunteer and walk into these rooms, whether it be Milwaukee or in Madison, you're immediately like, oh, these are all my favorite members of the AIA. These are all my favorite architects in town because only cool people show up for this stuff. And because they all want to hang out with Michael too. Thank you, Mike. So this last fall, through Mike, I was introduced to Shalina S. Ali in Milwaukee in their program at True Skool, which I'm representing here. So I was born in 62. T-shirts are 80% of my life. This is the finest T-shirt I have ever owned. Quality and content. So please, if you want to go get a cool T-shirt, talk to Shalina. So I'm going to do this specially and actually read it because but let me tell you about I did it was 2 days. It was Saturday and Sunday. So all these students, you think about that, all these students have given up their weekend to be there. So we show up Saturday morning all day, Sunday all day, and the students are absolute rock stars, just killing it. So, and these are high school students, middle school. Did they down to middle school? And very adult, very cool. Literally the contractors who volunteered and showed up were the only problems I had all day was these adult contractors. So I'm like, stay on task, guys. Come on, stop talking about baseball. Let's get serious. The students were total great. They're absolutely fabulous. And we've got at least 2 or 3 that'll come into architecture that I know of, but the rest of them are getting a terrific education through True Skool. And it's going to be Shalina is going to have a great story to tell. So, Shalina was born and raised in Milwaukee, is a mother, artist, entrepreneur. Her commitment to helping others through professional development and promoting emotional wellness while centering hip hop as an exclusive and effective approach to cultural engagement drives her career and serves as a constant motivation in her work. Shalina is the executive director of True Skool Incorporated, a co-created the Circulate Creative Entrepreneur Market and was awarded Creative Alliance's Creative Problem Solving Excellence Award for creating art of coping as a proactive approach to suicide prevention. So this starts to get real important what she's going to talk about. This is going to be a great evening we've got here. But as a proactive approach to suicide prevention and addressing symptoms of depression. Most recently, Shalina was the recipient of the non-traditional Jackins Award for her work outside of the society approved or bureaucratic norms and was honored as a resident leader recognized throughout Milwaukee County Health Equity Champion Awards. So without further ado, Shalina Ali.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here. And it's an honor to wrap things up. We heard a couple of trends throughout the conversation about collaboration, about inclusivity, about how powerful architecture and design can be for the good and for the bad. Clicker, clicker, clicker. Again, my name is Shalina Ali, and I want to talk about True Skool. We are Milwaukee's Center for Transformative Arts and Hip Hop Culture. We are unique in this particular genre of arts, and we mostly welcome high school age youth into our after school and paid summer internship program. However, we are very proud to say that we serve youth, their families, and the community. Let me just go back and do a moment of encouragement to check us out on our website. I'm going to cover a lot of content, but our website does a really great job of kind of digging into these particulars that True Skool does. And then also True Skool 414 is our social media handle. We are a fun group to watch. We are great storytellers. We like to document. We like to really uplift who our partners are. And we do a great job of connecting the many things that we do for the greater purpose of liberation. So, transformative creative trades. And we have young people learning from industry professionals, DJs, music production, art of MC, which really helps with like poetry, public speaking, confidence building, visual arts in many forms, breakdancing, which we've seen in the Olympics, digital storytelling, mixed media, live band, and then true knowledge is something that ties it all together. The creativity is the carrot that draws the young people in. The knowledge is how they're able to learn in all these different ways and understand how a creative mind can have a positive impact in just about any industry that you could go in. There is not an industry on this planet that does not need an artist, that does not depend on creativity. And in a world where we are forever evolving, this has to be a core cultural goal for every industry. And the consciousness of hip hop culture being centered in peace, love, unity, and having safe fun is a responsibility to making sure that we are raising young people who are seeing a pipeline to opportunities while experiencing joy. Because I promise there's some reciprocity there. You treat young people good and they're going to treat you good back, and you're going to stay a little bit younger for a little bit longer as a result of it. Here you see a couple examples of young people and the energy just popping off of the photos, them in practice of these different creative skills. They're learning every part of STEAM during the process. There is technology, there is engineering, and we're able to infuse art in there. My co-executive director, Fidel Verdin, who's at another event tonight, he and I make this pledge in the work that we do. We have to really think about the communities that we come from in Milwaukee and what are the barriers that stop young people, much like the story that Mike was telling. What is it that really gets in the way of a young person going from education to being able to be strong leaders in our city, making decisions and helping us to evolve for the better? And we're pretty great at our jobs. So another thing that True Skool does is fee for service. So as our young people begin to age out of the program, when they have these specific skills, DJing, breakdancing, public speaking, they have songs that they've created that they've mastered and they're ready to perform, different people throughout the city will actually reach out to us, and these become paid opportunities for our young people. And Fidel and I like to share best practices. We don't want to hoard any of the joy. We help a lot of our partners recreate experiences, help them advance their events, help them restructure some of their teaching practices. So we have residencies in schools, anywhere from elementary school all the way up to college. We do professional development. And we just try to make ourselves as available as we possibly can in true collaboration to making our city a better place. So that knowledge piece, the young people are coming, they're getting these creative opportunities of learning. In that process, in those learning experiences, they're figuring out what's their favorite way to learn. Do they want to read something? Do they want hands-on? Do they want that to be from their peers? Do they want that to be from adults? And so all of the spaces, all of the studios are created and designed in a way where young people can choose that path in real time even while another young person might be choosing another preferred way to learn. The knowledge piece allows us to say, okay, as you're becoming re-engaged learners, you're inspired to try new things, let's move over to the knowledge. So True Knowledge is a series of opportunities for us to bring in partners throughout the community. So True Aqua Pioneers is where we really dig into environmental justice. Better Me, Better Everything is a part of Youth Fighting for Justice, where young people are trying to decide, like, how do we make this world better, starting with ourselves? Where is self-accountability? And then how do we use that audacious ability to communicate to then hold other people accountable in a way where we're actually getting positive results and we're all feeling better about it? Designed awareness is where we get into architecture and design. The exciting piece of what Mike had brought up is when we're going through this opportunity for young people to have these architecture and design experiences, the new carrot becomes the future True Skool campus. What is True Skool's future? As we grow in partnership, as we grow in youth engagement, how do we bring young people along in a journey for them to help us actualize a building that cements our existence in Milwaukee's future and really is able to physically match the growth of our impact in our city? So design and awareness. What are we designing? You guys saw a table of products outside. We're designing physical spaces, experiences, curating galleries, creating booklets. Sometimes we're doing these for goals that we have in-house, and sometimes we're doing these for clients or partners. The way you design an event. The awareness comes in the inclusivity, the cultural experience, creating a space of safety. This goes back to the reality that the way that you create buildings and structure a city tells a story about that city and becomes its identity. We heard a lot about identity when you guys heard Carolina, talk about the Frank Lloyd Wright space that she's in, and all of the different intentionality over the years, where what we heard was a theme of trying to experience joy through architecture, through design. And we understand that that is a responsibility that is in front of us in the process of this future True Skool campus through designed awareness. So a culture of collaboration. True Skool is not the experts at architecture or design. Our partners are. And in that example of collaboration, even through a co-directorship, down to the way that we work with community partners, business professionals, the way that we understand the importance of the space for all of these people to come together. The young people are modeling what we are demonstrating in real time. And so you see different themes of young people working on the different projects in these camps and also even being out in the community around Milwaukee. The bottom picture shows a group of muralists that put up a 4-sided mural into Melvina Park, which was just newly designed, and the ribbon was cut on it last spring. So, pipeline to career, we can do better. Curiosity to career. You understand how play has everything to do with a young person's first curiosity around design. Here you see what? Playing with sand castles. This was a competition where teams of young people in the middle of their paid internship, we met at the beach at Bradford Beach. Some of the young people said that it was their first time ever actually making it to Lake Michigan. And we let them go into teams and build sandcastles. They looked up YouTube videos, they brought straws and they brought equipment and they got as creative as they could with things that they had at home. And they showed up ready for business. But there was so much laughter, there was so much joy, there was so much play. And we cannot discount the value of that play when it comes to becoming the kind of professional that has the consciousness to do their job for the greater good. My co-director, Fidel, is also the Art of MC instructor. And I've always appreciated when he uses the example that every kid who has ever read a Dr. Seuss book has rapped before. So in this story, design awareness starts in 2016. And there were a few people that got on board right away because there are many people in the industry with this goal to diversify the industry. So Abacus Architecture was somebody that was huge in the beginning, specifically Kurt and Chad. I gotta name them by name. Baylor Studios, Reginald Baylor, a very prominent artist in Milwaukee. And then we had a few folks do like one-off workshops. UWM, NOMAS, they were very influential. They did a workshop on site at the university, which was a big deal for us. And then they came to True Skool's campus after that to do a workshop at our house. There was a workshop that Kohl's department store did. I didn't name them on here, but there's a young lady who was a part of that workshop. In school, she was struggling, definitely failing grades, definitely trying to figure some things out. She was quiet, and they called that a behavioral issue. She was not disruptive, but she would freeze up in the classroom. She was not performing by standard testing. And she took this class that Kohl's department store did, and they had them learn about trend research when it comes to products. Like every season has colors, there's certain designs, and they use all this information to determine what clothing comes out. Right after that, Skathane, who did a lot of the steel work for the Bucks Arena that is up now, and they did a workshop on, it was one of the main digital programs for design. What do you think that would be, Mike? Nope, not that one. If somebody says it, it's going to come to me at some point. But it turned out that this young lady, she learned faster than anybody else in that group. She ended up being the team lead, and it was one of the first times that we ever saw her communicating in a level of leadership. At school, they had already said that they labeled her bad. They were trying to give her learning disability labels. She had been talked down on so much throughout her career at that point that when she even came to True Skool as an artist, it took her twice as long as other students to get comfortable, to get social, and to even be proud of the work that she was done. Now, she was a fantastic visual artist, but she was the kind of visual artist that created a great product and didn't showcase it. She just wanted to quietly do what she did because she was so used to having negative interactions with adults. So for her to be able to do that workshop and realize that she was strongly intelligent in a particular area that she had not had the chance to be challenged in, it was a game changer. Going to about 2020 is when we started really diversifying who our partners were. We had been able to demonstrate these one-off workshops. We had taken a couple trips to Chicago to the architecture biennial. We had some great content to demonstrate on our social media, on our website. We're yelling about this at the top of our lungs, and then the universe provides because the right people start drawing and connecting to us. By 2023 is when Project Pipeline comes to play for True Skool. And this is when we had a team of industry professionals, not saying we're going to do a workshop, but we are on your team. We are about to build this together, and it was a game changer. Fast forwarding to now, where we are now doing, where design awareness meets Project Pipeline now becomes future builders. What we're talking about is not a replacement. We're talking about adding on. Every single partner that was on at different phases, they never left us. They're still on board. I'm just demonstrating the growth of this partnership and how many people are passionately building onto this project, volunteering, adding insight, offering resources. And the importance of that is these are people. This is Mike. This is Josh. This is Kurt. This is Chad. This is Taruna. These are people that are professionals in the industry that are saying, hold up, I can go back to my joy and infuse personal passion and mission by partnering with True Skool, by engaging with youth, by us reimagining how education should be if we are trying to raise healthy young people that will become healthy adults. Because let's keep it real. Young people who were denied joy, who grew up with trauma that was unresolved, and that could be anybody. This is not just Black and brown people. This is some of us in this audience today. When that is unaddressed, that trauma, that pain, it becomes yours as an adult as well. So some of the successes. The success is in the story, it's in the feeling, it's in the excitement. Some of the products that our young people have created are represented here on this slide, and I brought some of them for you to be able to physically interact with out in the hallway. So that idea of designing a space, the acoustic boombox was one of the coolest things we created with the young people. It's sitting out there on the table, and if you turn your phone on and put it in the slot, you will actually hear the sound elevated. So we were trying to create something for offices that wouldn't be too disrupted, but allow people to bring in sound to their workday. We were able to do, I think this was the fourth design. The ones before that, they tweaked. The first one didn't fit all phones. Then they were able to think about how to make the acoustics elevated. And we went back and forth with Skathane, who actually took the design and cut it out for us. And so that was a really cool project. The booklet, the first time we created a booklet was for Sculpture MKE, and this is us having a client. There was a public gallery up and down the downtown area off of Wisconsin and Milwaukee, but nobody knew where it came from, who funded it, why it was put there. And so when True Skool approached them to say, hey, we're your downtown neighbor. Can our young people create a booklet designed to engage viewers and actually make this an interactive outdoor gallery? And not only did they work with us, but they began a new model for them to work with community groups throughout the city every year after that. And lastly, it's the experiences themselves. From one-off workshops to weekend camps, field trips, going to Chicago. Hopefully we'll be planning a trip with our new partner soon. Sandcastle challenges. We are keeping the fun and the progression and the pipeline to success going. And we're just getting started. The fact of the matter is we are going to have a future True Skool campus. There is going to be a ribbon cutting. You are all completely invited. But I hope you'll accept the invitation to go along the journey with us. Follow True Skool, stay in touch with Project Pipeline, stay in touch with True Skool and the collaborations that we have going on, because there is so much room for more, and we actually have no idea what you have to offer. So if nothing else, I hope that these stories have inspired you to consider yourself in them, to think about who you could collaborate with, what kind of resources that you could offer. We have to do this together. It's the right thing to do, and we make it a whole lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
Great job. So you can see why when you're in a classroom with Shalina, the students have absolute respect, absolutely love for her, and you're just kind of stepping into this perfect education environment. We are going to have a moment of where we can have each of the three speakers on stage and we can ask some questions. So if you've got any questions that you would like to ask, Carolina, Michael. Thank you, Heather. Heather truly does everything around here. Thank you, Mike. Have a seat. Relax. Relax. So as a volunteer that's walked into programs with all three of these folks, I can say that you know you're in good hands immediately, and the days are always really great and very successful. Tell us a couple of more stories, if you like, any one of you, about the victories that you've seen at any level from any student or working with any group of folks.
Mic check, mic check. There we go.
Check.
Okay, so, I think it was the first Project Pipeline camp. This is kind of, I'm not an educator, but I think this is what drives educators to do the work that they do. Because I've always thought that, man, it must be hard to be a teacher. Why would you want to do that? It's just like a lot of work. But and then being the type of student that I'm used to seeing when I was growing up, it was like I couldn't understand like, oh, that's a complicated job, but there are these rewards that you get when a young person, you know that the light just went on in their mind and that they became engaged with something that you are giving them as a learning opportunity. In Milwaukee, our first Project Pipeline camp, it was in the middle of COVID or immediately after COVID. And the the culture is telephone, phones and staying really engaged with phones and on almost phone separation anxiety. But we started with some students and started to show them an exercise that was geared around Legos. And the students, they got so engaged in this activity that they they put their phones down and they were like, "Oh, I'll worry about this phone later." They literally put the phone down so that they can continue and finish the project that was related to this design exercise. So that's when it occurred to me, like, hey, this is that rewarding moment. The light went on for them, and it went on for me as well. So those are the type of scenarios in one particular instance that I've seen.
Eric Hancock, I believe, created that, and it was genius. And like each team is handed a Lego, complicated Lego creation, and they're supposed to draw it, and then they pass it on to and then take it apart, and then the next team has to put it together. And so you're basically the designer, you're the contractor and everything, and it was perfect. Every professional in the room kind of lost their minds saying, "Oh my gosh, in 15 minutes you've got all the emotions tied up in the entire design and construction process, and it's real."
Yeah, I don't have a story come to mind, but I can totally relate. I'm a passionate educator, and you really know that you did something right when you touched that student. And Shalina's story about this young lady that found her calling in designing, we see that happening. And I think that what happened tonight in these three stories or examples is we're all working in environments that allow failure, that allow experimentation, that allow helping each other and learning from each other. And I think very often school hasn't caught up always to that kind of education. And I think we all probably agree that we see that that's when true reward happens. And then again, as to the power what architecture can have on all of us really, but especially young minds. A story that I will never forget is we brought a nonverbal student into the main living room at Taliesin, which is just a very significant architectural space. And she came with her students, with her classmates, and as this individual entered the room, her entire body opened up and arms were flying and sounds of joys were coming out. And the entire group, all of us were silent because we witnessed the effect of the built environment on this individual. And so those are moments that I think is why we do what we do.
Philip Johnson sat in that room the last time he was ever at Taliesin, and he asked if he could just stay there by himself. And someone finally came in and said, "You have to leave, you've got a plane to catch." And he simply said, "Wright had it right."
The first story that comes to mind is, so my daughter is 21 years old, and when she was about 5, I asked her, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And she said, "I want to be an architecture of all things because I don't want anybody to tell me what I can't do." And the full circle just ride of my career, because I feel like working with young people has committed me to being a better mother, and being a mother has committed to me being better to the young people I work with. And so just seeing that connection between architecture, design, and liberation has been something that I think has made me a better person. And when we have young people that have participated in the designed awareness and the project pipeline in the Future Builders, either they're young people from True Skool who are now participating in this experience where we're saying, hey, you make decisions, you tell us how this should look, how this should feel, etc. And then they come back to True Skool, and all of a sudden they got opinions about everything, where things should be set up, what art should be up, how can we redesign this room. But I feel like that is what moves them from being participants to being a family, feeling like you can have ideas and share them, and then actually having adults that support you enough to say, all right, let's try it your way. I think that has been some of my favorite experiences.
And Shalina, earlier you had it absolutely right. When design is about play. And if you don't have that joy in it in your own heart, the work is not going to be as much fun. And the work is going to share that. We have any questions from the audience or any points you'd like to make? We certainly appreciate you. Oh, yes.
Great. Hi, I'm Chesapeake Gay. I'm also a part of Wisconoma. I'm secretary, and I think the main thing that I appreciate, I went to UW Milwaukee for architecture school, and um, just being a part of Wisconoma has helped me stay in the profession. But then just working with the students, it's like really coming full circle. And then just being at this event, it just made me realize how much we have made connections within, Madison to Milwaukee. And I feel like it's just growing, and it's gonna expand to, all over Wisconsin, which is exciting. And yeah, I myself being native, like I can count on one hand all of like the native architects that I've met in my life. So yeah, I just really appreciate everyone's time they took tonight. And I think the one big thing in being a part of organizations and boards, like we're always looking for sponsors. So any time that you can provide or support, even if it's just volunteering your time, is the best. So thanks.
The perfect thing to say from a secretary and treasurer of a great organization. Tessa is also the hardest working volunteer in the room as well. I mean, I was around a table she was with, and those girls were totally rock stars by the end of that program. And it was a lot of Tessa's doing. Well, folks, anything else you'd like to say? Perfect. That's a great idea, Shalina.
So just wondering from you guys, did any of your wheels get turning around collaboration opportunities or anything else that you would like to see us do?
We all want to see these students out at Taliesin, and I want to be there, but I'll keep my mouth shut. I just want them to experience it, I promise. Yeah, wasn't that it was really well orchestrated, the way you come at this from three different directions and three very successful directions, and it wasn't a repeat at all. You would kind of think, oh, we're going to talk about design education from three design people who are design education in different ways, and it's three completely different stories, which is like design. Well, thank you very much. This evening was sponsored by Wisco Noma, terrific organization, and the American Institute of Architects of Wisconsin. Dawn from who's our executive director, or terrific executive director from the AIA Wisconsin, is here. Thank you, Dawn, and for your support on this on many different levels, and Wisconsin Architects Foundation and their support. So, and then I would be remiss if I didn't mention how wonderful a partner Monona Terrace is and always has been. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great evening. We'll continue talking to everybody who's here. So have a good night.